Hi, everyone. I'm Laurie Discusses, CEO of Aligned at Work in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're here to talk about leadership. Now, in previous videos, we've talked about everything from the 5 cancers that'll kill your culture to what's going on in the world today, pandemics and racial unrest and all of those things, incivility in the workplace, burnout, all the factors that we as leaders have to deal with every day. So what we're going to talk about today is, what does it look like in your workplace? Now, true confession, I am a feminist from way back because I realized early on that the playing field for women and men at work was not a level playing field. And having grown up with 2 older brothers, that's something I didn't understand from the time I was 3 or 4 years old. And I realized that my behaviors, following exactly what they did, were termed bad girl behaviors while they were good boys. Didn't quite wash with me. And so as I got into the workplace, I happened to work for a woman that educated me on those kinds of things. And I began to look for equality for all people. Now, to me, gender is not binary. So I no longer do the specific male-female work, but I do broader diversity work. It's ranged from gender diversity, now gender identity, sexual orientation, race, religion, you name it. I believe we are all equal human beings. And it's not a popular view all the time in the world today. We play it a lot of lip service. We don't always do something about it. When I go to do business with a company, one of the first things I do is check out their webpage, and I go to find their leadership team. And frankly, if it looks like all guys I went to high school with, those guys that are a certain age, let's say baby boomers, and they're white and so on and so forth. If that's the whole page, I'm not likely to do business there, because the world does not do business that way anymore. The world is a very different place. So let's take a look at what some of the stats say that our workplaces look like today. Let me share my screen here. And here's what we see over time. Now, this came from 2018, but it puts things sort of into context for us. Perceived gender roles are still shaping our workforces. So, especially in those traditionally male fields. Now, I mentioned in another video that I come out of the banking world. And banking back in 1978 when I joined was still very male dominated, still is to a large extent, by white males especially. By the way, if you're a white male, you are not the evil empire. It just is what it is. So let's deal with it and move forward and get our leadership teams and our workplaces looking like the people we serve. So the gender roles that we expect, men's work, women's work, whatever that is, shapes the way we do work. And here's the danger, as I've seen it over the years, is that as more and more women move into certain roles, they then become women's work roles, and we get into that 80 to 100%, 80%, what is that? The wage gap is generally about 80 cents on the dollar for women to men. Not always, but that's what the statistics show us. So if we look at the screen, we see that things like male things like construction and energy and engineering are still very male dominated. And frankly, we do a lot of work in those kinds of companies because we don't believe that white males are evil, but we do believe that the workforce should change and look like the people it serves. Women are 70% in the HR role. People of color are showing up in diversity and inclusion roles. Not a bad thing. But when you hang the whole diversity and inclusion initiative on one person who happens to be a person of color, you're not really doing its service. We'll talk about that in another video. Black workers are still underrepresented, except for in food service. Hispanic workers prevail in construction and personal services. Strong correlation between the ethnicity of our manager and our direct reports. Here's what I've noticed over time. I remember going to school at night while I was working and doing this case study on employee referral programs and if they really worked. In other words, if I work in an organization, I bring somebody in, I get a little bit of a pop in my pay for that. What it does is it creates more of the same. So yes, I have benefited once or twice from that. But what I've started to do is look at the contractors I hire and the vendors that I hire to see, am I really hiring people of color, indigenous people, different genders? Am I really doing that? And I've had to make a conscious effort to actually bring more diversity into even my own thing, even though I've done that work for years. So my challenge to you is think about that. Who's in your world, not just at work, but who's in your friend circle? Do you see them as often as you see people who look just like you, whether that's age or race or whatever it is? We'll talk more about how to unpack that in other videos, but the challenge today is look around you and see who you're interacting with, see who you're doing business with, and make a conscious effort to change. Diversify your world, and you'll be ready for the future. And again, I'm Laurie Battaglia. The easiest way to find me is Laurie at alignedatwork.com, or to go on the alignedatwork.com website and find us there. I'll see you in the next video.